Hi, my name's Monica,
It's Amia, Cash.
And I'm Nova.
and you are listening to Anxious at Bedtime.
Tell them a little bit about what the podcast is going to be.
Our hope for this podcast is for it to be like a spooky, cryptid, ghost type podcast. We're starting it because I've been joking about starting a podcast for years, and I finally somehow convinced my husband to join me, and I'm forcing my sister because I miss her and I want to spend time with her. For our first episode, we are going to be talking about the Flathead Lake Monster. I don't know if
Ooh,
you guys have ever heard about that, but I never have.
No, I don't even know what a
me
flathead lake
neither.
is.
Okay, so imagine this. It's a sunny, warm, 85-degree day. There's a slight breeze, just enough to ruffle your hair. You have an ice cold lemonade or a Sprite for you, Cash. The air has the sweet smell of sunblock and watermelon. You decide to get into your kayak and head into the water. The rhythmic sound of the waves gently lapping at your sides is calming. Pair that with the birds chirping, and it's the perfect day. Until suddenly, something jostles your kayak. Something from beneath you. You see a
Hold
dark
on.
shadow
Why am
pass
I in
through
a
the water.
kayak? Can I be in something else?
I knew you were going to say something about the
No,
kayak. You could be swimming.
I don't know about that, but we'll keep going.
Suddenly, a snake-like head rises out of the water. Is it Nessie? No. You just came face to face with the Flathead Lake Monster.
I don't like snake-like things popping out of the water at me.
No, I wouldn't either.
Imagine just a giant worm.
Don't like the worm thing either. 1 out of 10, not gonna recommend it.
Okay, so to back it up a little bit, Flathead Lake is a gorgeous lake in northwestern Montana. If you look at pictures of it, it actually kind of looks like Lake Tahoe. It's very, very clear, very, very blue, very scenic like that. It's also huge. It's 30 miles long and 16 miles wide. Its max depth is 371 feet.
God damn.
People use it for all the traditional lake stuff. You can camp there, you can hike, picnic, swim, kayak, all of that. One thing that is notable about it is so large that it has several different islands within it. One of those islands is called Wild Horse Island, and we're going to talk about that one for a little bit just because I thought it was really interesting and I kind of want to go. Wild Horse Island is the largest of all five islands. There are 3 miles of hiking trails. Unfortunately, you can't camp there, but you can go visit for the day. It's said to have been a landmark since the Kootenai tribe used it as horse pastures to protect against theft from other tribes. The island is most known for being home to animals such as deer, sheep, bald eagles, waterfowl, several rare species of plants, and of course, the reason for the name, it's home to wild horses. And I just thought that was really interesting. And like I said, I kind of want to go and see the horses. So that's all on that though.
Did you only
As
start
long
this
as
podcast to convince Cash to take you places?
Kinda,
I
yeah.
think so.
That was
I think so. And here's the thing: I'm not going to swim with these fucking worms that you were talking about. I'm out.
you don't have to swim.
They don't want to look them eye to eye either. I don't like this. And then you got these haunted horses you're talking about. 1 out of 10? No.
They're not haunted horses. They're just horses.
Haunted horses and giant worms. Sounds like a fun camping trip.
That's what I'm
Not for
saying.
me. Not for me. Sound fucking terrible.
Whatever. I think we should go. Imagine camping and then waking up and then being like, okay, let's go see the horses today.
A fucking weenie snake worm?
It's
No. No thanks.
We wouldn't swim to the island.
What if these things fucking swam to us? No thanks, Scoobs.
The first recorded sighting of the Flathead Lake Monster was in 1889 when a ship named the U.S. Grant Steamboat and its 100 passengers claimed to have seen it. I just think it's crazy that 100 people claim to see it. Like how can you explain that?
For
And in
real.
1889,
I'm pretty intrigued. I'm pretty
That's so
intrigued that
fucking
it's
wild.
mostly recent. Like, I know 1889 is not that recent.
I see what you're saying. It's not all old stories. Like that's kind of recent. And then if it only started then, that means I think you were hinting at is most of the stories are in at least the 1900s.
Or like a medieval based thing,
Yeah.
like
But
dragons
okay.
and unicorns.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not.
Hold on. While we're on the subject of
I just feel
dragons,
like
no. Don't move on that fast. So, are dragons and dinosaurs the same fucking thing?
I
That's
don't
a
know.
long pause.
I kind
That's a
of
long
think
pause.
so.
But I think that
I
it
feel
could
like
be a
yes
thing.
and no. Because if you think
I
about
think it
how a lot of people
could
say that
be.
a lot of dinosaurs were feathered, that's what makes me like
Yeah,
maybe some were, but some weren't.
I've
that's
been to
fair.
a
Or maybe all
thousand
dinosaurs are
museums,
just like
and
different
there's
species
no
of.
fucking dinosaur that has feathers. I mean, maybe there is, but those are the ones I don't look at. I'm like, that's a fucking bird. That's not a real dinosaur, dude. And I keep her moving. But they don't ever show a fucking T Rex
But
or a Stegosaurus Or like not even a fucking triceratops. It's all fucking feathered. It's crazy. But maybe they are
But
dragons. I don't know.
that's because allegedly, no, listen, that's because allegedly they, like scientists aren't supposed to be able to tell what they look like on the outside. So they don't know if they were feathered or if they have lizard skin. They just took a wild guess based off what they think the Earth was like back then. So who knows?
Imagine if they were just the fuzziest, fluffiest little beasts.
Like cows, I like to think that. Like a freshly blown out cow. That sounds disgusting. I'm not adding that.
Nasty. Nasty. You are
I meant,
disgusting.
no, okay, what I meant was because when you take a cow to fair, like the kids that show the cows wash them, and then at least my friends, I don't know about everyone, I never showed cows,
You got
but
some
they blow
freak
dry them
nasty
with like
ass
a blow
friends.
dryer and a hairbrush.
Freak nasty
I think
friends,
it's
dude.
normal. You blow dry your cow. So a blow dried cow, I guess is how I should have worded that. But they're so
That's,
fluffy, it's so cute.
that's what they called me in high school when I got ready for the prom.
You didn't even go to prom.
That's why. That's why, because they fucking called me a blow dried cow while I was out.
Oh my goodness.
Are we ever gonna
Not
get to
on
the scary
camera.
part?
It's not super scary. It's just interesting. Okay. So there have been about 109 recorded sightings since that first sighting in 1889. That's roughly 1 to 2 a year by both tourists and residents, which is another thing that I think is really interesting because there's something about residents, people that live there 24/7 saying, yeah, that thing exists, that gives me chills.
For real though.
Do they ever
Unless they're
go
just
swimming
fucking with the
in
tourists.
that water?
That's fair. Yeah. So I actually have a few stories about people that did.
The locals?
Yeah, locals.
Like old Betty Sue down the road, she was like, I'm gonna go swimming, and then she got one of these worms to pop out. Yeah, let's hear those.
Yes, I have a few stories from locals. Anyway, but that's fair. That's something I didn't think about is what if it's all just residents trying to scare people and keep tourists away because
Right.
they don't want tourists around.
They end up just attracting more.
Yeah. It reminds me of that episode of Modern Family where Phil's dad would get the giant feet and walk like he's walking out of the lake. Have you seen that?
No, but I've seen other shows and movies do that too.
I think I recall that
It's so
episode.
cute. You should, because we watched everything.
My memory is not great, as we know, but I'm sure I saw it.
People that have seen the monster say that it is shaped like a snake or an eel, and that it's 20 to 40 feet long and has black eyes. For some reason, a lot of the stories that I saw commented on the black eyes. And then also, a lot of the stories that I read, people kept saying it undulates under the water.
So it's not just a normal gigantic worm, it's also a possessed giant worm.
Something, yeah. So I did look up the definition of undulates. I think is how you say it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it's like, the traditional pictures of Nessie from Loch Ness, how she's like has humps out of the water and humps in the water. I think it was like
Yeah.
that. So it moves
Mm.
like that through the water up and down,
It just
which is
sounds
just really weird because
disgusting and terrible. Let's be
it
candid.
doesn't sound great. It sounds terrifying to see for sure.
You were talking about earlier, it would touch you and like slither and knock your boat around, and I don't, kayak. So you're talking about it slithering around and touching me, and it's a possessed, dirty wiener worm? Nah.
I never said wiener worm.
The way that it's been explained, it's terrifying, and that's all I can envision is a terrifying wiener worm. Not saying it looks like a wiener, it just sounds terrifying.
Well, at least you're scared of it.
Awful.
Anyway, people report it to be dark blue or almost black in color, but some people do say it's brownish.
Is there just multiple?
So I was wondering if, like, what if it's like there's different species of the monster in there? Or what if it's like, how some people are blonde and then some people have brown hair? What if it's like that and there are different types and it's just like they're different, like an orange cat or a black cat? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
What if it's just like seaweed,
that'd be
like
crazy.
kelp, just brushing around, and people are like, fucking weird. Fucking weird, bro. I don't like it.
Or there's the more logical explanation that depending on the sky and if it's sunny or cloudy, depending on how clear the water is at that time, maybe that's why people would see it different colors. What is that?
That's a beautiful sound.
Okay, you heard that too.
Yeah.
Those aliens.
things coming up through the drain trying to tell us, hey, fucking stop talking shit, asshole. We're here.
No, I hope that the recording is picking this up because I can't, like, you sound like an alien right now. That's insane. You're so crackly. Where's your microphone? Do you keep hitting the string or something?
No, this is going to be like the worst fucking sounding podcast. People are going to be like, what is wrong with these people? Back to normal.
What'd you do?
Fucking nothing. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's keep rolling then while we're on a roll. Another thing that is interesting to me that I think adds a layer of, I don't know the right word, but makes me feel like this really is something that people are experiencing and not just like some weird, what's it called? Where people think they're seeing a monster, but it's actually a tree stump or something.
Yeah, they're not hallucinating and they're not tripping.
Yeah, but people see it not just in the water or on the water, but they've also spotted it with their fish finder, which if you don't know what that is,
I'm sticking with my earlier assumption of seaweed. You can see seaweed on a fish finder.
No, listen. So it's a tool that uses sonar to allow fishermen to see the fish in the lake beneath them. So I don't understand how a clump of seaweed would look like a giant snake on a fish finder. But if anyone doesn't know what a fish finder is, they show them a lot in shark movies. Anytime that there's a shark movie, basically, you'll see them. Now, one story from somebody that saw it comes from a judge named Jim Manley and his wife Julia. In 2005, they were waiting for help after their boat died. They were swimming next to the boat when they heard loud splashing, and Jim said in an interview with NBC Montana that he knew immediately that it was the monster because the descriptions are all the same, which I think is another interesting layer. I feel like I've said that 100 times, I'm sorry, but this whole thing is so interesting to me because even though there are a few variations in like color, everything else across the board is the same. That just makes me feel like there's something in there. If the story is the same between 108 people that saw it, I think is what I said. That's a lot of people to be seeing the same exact thing.
For real, though.
Why hasn't anybody caught one, though?
That's okay. So they thought, I'll get to that. Hold on. Another local resident that saw it described it as having 5 shark fins, which I think is interesting. So his story is a little different. I didn't see a lot of people talking about shark fins, but one of the theories is that it could be a giant sturgeon that just lives in the lake. And if you look at a picture of a sturgeon, they do have a lot of fins, especially on the bottom, so that if it was like swimming upside down, maybe that would explain all of the fins that he saw. So,
but it was like fucking starving, so it's like a worm snake. It's like super fucking sucked up and skinny and just slithering all over people.
Maybe huge and starved, I guess.
Or it's kelp.
I don't think it's kelp. And also, hold on, I feel like we let that slide way too easy. Does seaweed grow in lakes?
Kelp of sorts.
More
seaweed.
like algae.
Yeah, it's more like an algae and grass, right? I think kelp and seaweed are just the ocean.
Yeah.
Are you Googling it?
Like my last piece of comfort.
Seaweed is listen, hear me out. Seaweed is the common name for countless species of marine plants and algae that grow in ocean as well as in rivers, lakes, and other water bodies. So seaweed is just a fucking generic ass name for, yes, you're right, algae. It's all over in the fucking lake. That one especially, brother.
Okay, so he really needs to believe that it's seaweed.
Maybe then we can ride your precious little ponies out there.
Don't think you can ride the ponies, but we'll see. Okay, but another thing, I guess the seaweed could make sense. If we roll with the theory that it's seaweed, it would make sense with how people say it has humps and it undulates in the water. But if it's a sturgeon, that doesn't make sense because sturgeons don't do the little snake like up and down.
They do when they're starving and skinny. And that's the only way they can move in the water because they ain't got no muscles left from being so fucking hungry.
Maybe.
Possibly.
But one thing that I think is really cool about it is locals don't seem to be scared of it at all. At all. That was weird. The snake was trying to talk through me. I think that's what that was. Anyway, I think that says something about any cryptid if the locals aren't scared of it. I don't know. It, again, to me, maybe I just want to believe it so bad because it's so close to home. They're so close to where we are. But to me, it makes it feel like if the locals don't question it, they're not like, oh gosh, get your pitchforks. They're just like, yeah, it's there. But I did find one story of this. One woman saw it at her grandma's house when she was a preteen. Hi, Kitty Bing. It's my cat coming to say hello. One woman saw it at her grandma's house when she was a preteen. She said there were 5, maybe 6 in the water, and her grandma casually said, oh, those are the flathead monsters. Just like, oh yeah, we got wild pigs around here.
Hold
Like
on.
just very.
Is her grandma's house on the lake, or was this in like the above ground pool, the toilet? Like, where were these fucking water monsters
Her
at, dude?
grandma's house was by the lake, or maybe it didn't. I'm not gonna lie, it didn't specify. So maybe she's not local to here, and she was visiting grandma's house, and grandma took her to the lake. It wasn't
Stop saying
100% clear.
here like we live there. People are gonna Google where we live.
Okay, she's not from Montana
Neither
then.
are we. Just so you guys know, no, we're not either.
We're not. You're not wrong. Yeah, it makes it cooler to me because if people aren't scared of it, I want to make it my friend, maybe. Like I want to go see it, and I'm not like, oh, it's gonna possess me or try to eat me or anything like that. If locals aren't
See
scared
if
of
we
it and
can
they
get
live
some dance moves
with
out of
it,
it. Get a fucking sick
yeah, like just show
TikTok.
me.
Like you see this fucking snake in the water, watch it wiggle.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna have that one girl's grandma like, get the fuck out of there. Those are my lakehead monsters.
What do you think? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's a mutated sturgeon? Do you think it's all a hoax to keep tourists out? Or do you
Seaweed.
think it's maybe something like a
Seaweed.
story?
Algae, if you will.
Some people theorize that it could just be a story that people tell kids to get them to not swim in the water alone because the undercurrents are pretty strong. I think I'm leaning towards real. I am gullible, and like I said, I want to believe it's real, but I feel like that's too many people. And the 109 people doesn't even account for the 100 people on that ship that saw it.
Yeah, that's the one that I keep thinking about too, is like that many people seeing it at the same time. Like,
Exactly. I think also once you take into account the type of people, not that anybody could lie, but to have somebody like a judge saying, hey, I saw this thing, because he's in a position where you hear the story all the time. People are like lawyers or judges or even cops, and they say they won't come forward when they like see aliens or see Bigfoot because they're scared they'll lose their job.
their reputation.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in somewhere like Montana, that's always like so small town and your reputation matters. Why would he lie about that? I like to think it's real. I think that's what I'm going with. And maybe we'll go there and we'll try to see if we can find this monster. Yeah, that's everything I got. Oh, no, no, no. There's one more thing before I forget.
There's one more thing.
Yeah, in the same area, I did also come across a few Sasquatch sightings in the same area. So what if there's like some weird portal or thin veil or something? I know that sounds crazy, but that's a lot of weirdness for one spot.
Facts though. I believe it. I feel like there's
Yeah,
so many different like portals and like thin veil areas that people don't know or acknowledge and stuff.
If you tell me that
exactly.
they're spawning unicorns out of fucking northwest Montana,
Oh my gosh, what if that's the horses, the horse island? They're over there waiting for their horns to pop up and then they move on.
oh my god, now it all makes sense. Those wiener worms, the wiener worms, those are the fucking
Or the
horns all
horns.
soft. You got to get them
You
out.
gotta get them al dente.
You got to talk to them. You got to get them all fucking. You got to get them all straightened out. That's what it is.
Or that's why they dance in the water because that's what builds up their muscles and makes them into the horn. See, now we have to go and we have to see the horses and we have to find the
I'm
horns.
not
Maybe this could
watching
help
unicorn.
make.
I might. I don't know. Want to know why nobody's caught one? They've seen a bunch of different colors of the same thing all throughout all these different years. They've seen more than just one. Somebody should have fucking caught one of these and figured out what it is.
So that does remind me, there is a newspaper article where people said that they caught it. They thought they did. But not only have sightings still happened since then, but obviously, if that one woman saw five or six, there could be many. But the newspaper did say that it was a sturgeon. I don't remember if it looked like a lake monster or if it looked like a sturgeon, but I will add a picture to our social media when I post it, probably our Instagram. But people did say that they caught it. They thought that they did. I don't know.
But after somebody caught it, everyone else that saw it, they were like, "Yeah, that was it," or were they like, "Just a fucking sturgeon, but the monster's still out there."
I don't remember. I showed them the picture of the supposed sturgeon that was caught. 181 pounds. That's crazy. Do you really think that's a sturgeon?
After I saw the picture you sent, I looked up pictures of other sturgeons and like there are similarities on the pattern on the scales on the backs, but the
Oh
face
yeah.
parts look different to me because the one in the
Yeah, it was
picture
weird looking,
that the guy
right?
caught, it like droops down a little more right here, or like a lot more.
Yeah. But just because it was caught doesn't mean that that was the Flathead Lake Monster
Hmm.
or the only one. Well, thank you for listening. We are anxious at bedtime and If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe and rate us. If you or somebody you know has a story that you would like to share and have us read on the podcast, please email it to anxiousatbedtimepodcast@gmail.com and then put in there if you want us to say your name or not. You can follow us on TikTok or Instagram.
You can also email us and tell us if you think it's seaweed. Let us know.
Yes, please email us. Let us know if you think it's real.
Do all the things.
And if you made it all the way through, thank you so much. We appreciate your support.
Pretty fucking cool, and I appreciate you. So I think that concludes episode 1, guys. Yeah.
And remember, folks, the world might seem like a scary place with things like lake monsters in it, but we're probably fine.